After 60, 8 morning habits that keep your heart healthy. Most people think heart health comes down to eating well and getting enough exercise. And while those things absolutely matter, the way you start your morning may have a bigger impact than you realize. In this video, we're sharing information, not medical advice or a diagnosis, about morning habits that have been linked to better heart health in adults age 60 and older. If you have questions about your own health or need guidance that's specific to you, be sure to talk with your healthcare provider. Think of this video as a helpful resource to complement those conversations, not replace them. Here's something that might surprise you, and it's worth sticking around for. One of the habits on this list doesn't seem like it has anything to do with your heart at first glance. Yet researchers have been pointing to it for years, because it's been associated with sudden changes in the heart's workload during the morning hours. Before we reveal that one, let's look at the other habits first. Each one plays a role, and together they create a much bigger picture. On their own, these habits may seem simple, but when they become part of your daily routine, they can add up to a meaningful difference over time. The first few hours after you wake up are actually one of the most important transitions your body goes through each day. As you move from sleep to being fully awake, your blood pressure naturally rises, your heart rate increases, and your body shifts into a more active state. Researchers refer to this as the asterisk morning surge, and it's a completely normal biological process. For younger adults, this transition usually happens without much notice. But as we get older, our blood vessels become less flexible, and the heart doesn't adapt quite as easily to these changes. That's one reason the morning hours can become more important after age 60. A consistent morning routine isn't just about staying organized. It can be a simple, meaningful way to support your heart. What's especially interesting is that these 8 habits don't work in isolation. They're connected. For example, even the best morning routine can't fully make up for poor sleep. And eating a healthy breakfast won't have the same impact if you're inactive for the rest of the day. As you watch, try not to think of these habits as individual boxes to check off. Instead, think of them as parts of one healthy routine, with each habit supporting the others. Many families even practice these routines together, encouraging both themselves and their older loved ones. Sometimes a gentle reminder, or just a few minutes of movement together, is all it takes to make healthy habits easier to maintain. With that in mind, let's take a closer look at each of these 8 morning habits and explore why they may matter for heart health. Number 1, waiting a few minutes before getting out of bed. Most people, the moment they hear their alarm, sit up and jump out of bed suddenly, as if they're racing against the day. But that sudden movement can cause a rapid drop in blood pressure. In medical terms, this is called orthostatic hypotension, and it simply means the body isn't able to pump blood upward fast enough when you stand up. As we age, this reflex can slow down, because the speed at which blood vessels contract and relax can change over time. This can show up as symptoms like dizziness, brief blurred vision, or a feeling of unsteadiness, and it tends to be more noticeable early in the morning, before the body is fully awake. Staying flat on your back for 30 seconds to a minute after opening your eyes, then slowly rolling onto your side and taking a few breaths, and only then sitting up on the edge of the bed gives your body a gentler way to make this transition. This 3-stage process, moving from lying down to sitting, and from sitting to standing, opens up a window of a few seconds for your circulatory system to adjust at each stage. It's a step that's often skipped in the rush of the morning, but it can actually be quite meaningful for the heart and circulatory system. A good example here might be the story of Robert, who is 67 years old. For years, Robert would jump out of bed the instant his alarm went off and rush to the kitchen to start making coffee. One morning, as soon as he stood up, everything went dark in front of his eyes and he lost his balance for a few seconds. Luckily, he caught himself on the edge of the bed and avoided falling. When he talked to his doctor, he learned about the importance of rising slowly, and from that day on, Robert made it a habit to wait a few minutes in bed before getting up. In his own words, he now feels much more in control in the mornings, and he hasn't experienced that sudden dizzy spell again. For him, this small change also helped the rest of his day start off calmer. Number 2, drinking a glass of water right after waking up. During sleep, which typically lasts around 7 to 8 hours, the body doesn't take in any fluids, but it continues to lose water through breathing and sweating. This can create a mild state of dehydration in the morning and contribute to the blood becoming slightly thicker or more concentrated. This small change in blood consistency can increase the effort the heart has to put in to pump blood through the vessels, because moving a thicker fluid naturally requires more energy. Drinking a glass of room temperature water after waking up can help the body restore its fluid balance, and this simple step may give the circulatory system a positive start that carries through the rest of the day. Choosing water before coffee or tea can also help prevent caffeine's mild diuretic effect from adding to dehydration. Some older adults notice that their sense of thirst naturally decreases with age, so even if you don't feel thirsty, turning a morning glass of water into a routine can be a practical way to meet the body's needs before it even signals them. Helen, who is 75 years old, mentioned to her doctor that she'd been feeling tired and a bit sluggish in the mornings. During the evaluation, it turned out her daily water intake was quite low. A few weeks after making it a habit to drink a glass of water as soon as she woke up, Helen said she felt noticeably more energetic. Of course, this alone isn't a complete solution, but for Helen, it became a simple and sustainable starting point. Number 3, doing some light stretching. After staying still all night, muscles and joints can feel a bit stiff in the morning. Light stretching, whether done in bed or right after getting up, can help warm up the muscles and allow blood circulation to spread more evenly to the arms, legs, and torso. Because these gentle movements raise heart rate gradually rather than suddenly, they're thought to help ease the sharp shifts in load that the heart experiences in the morning. Simple movements like raising your arms up and slowly lowering them, gently turning your neck from side to side, or rotating your ankles can offer this benefit without requiring any complicated exercise program. What matters most is that the movements are slow, controlled, and pain-free. If you feel any discomfort or pain while stretching, the right approach is to stop and, if needed, check with a healthcare professional. These movements aren't just good for the muscles. They can also offer a gentler mental transition into the day, since you're spending a few calm minutes connecting with your body. Some experts note that this kind of light movement may have a positive effect not just on the muscles, but also on the circulation of joint fluid, which can be an added benefit especially for people who experience morning joint stiffness. There's no need to make the routine complicated. Even 2 to 3 minutes of stretching, made up of just a few basic movements, can make a difference over time if done consistently. Some people like to do this short routine while listening to music they enjoy, which can make it more pleasant. Dorothy, who is 81 years old, developed a 5-minute stretching routine at the edge of her bed years ago on her physical therapist's recommendation. At first, she thought it was just for her joints, but over time she noticed she felt less tired and more balanced overall. Dorothy's doctor mentioned that this kind of regular, light movement could support overall circulatory health, of course, while emphasizing that it isn't a treatment on its own. Dorothy still keeps up this routine today, and she recommends it to her friends, saying it's made a difference for her both physically and mentally. Number 4, checking your blood pressure regularly. Since the morning hours are a time when blood pressure naturally rises, taking a reading during this window can offer valuable insight into your body's general patterns. Using a simple home blood pressure monitor, taking readings at the same time each morning, on the same arm and while seated, can help you build a pattern over time. Sitting calmly for a few minutes before measuring, avoiding crossing your legs, and not talking during the reading can help you get more consistent results. This pattern can make it easier to notice any unusual changes and share them with a healthcare professional when needed. A single high or low reading generally shouldn't be a cause for concern, since blood pressure naturally fluctuates throughout the day. What matters most is the long-term trend. Some experts suggest that recording your results in a small notebook or a phone app can help both you and your doctor see changes over time more clearly. This small habit can become a quiet but valuable tool that keeps both you and your doctor informed about your heart health. Technical details also matter for accuracy, such as using the correct cuff size and keeping the cuff at heart level, so it can be helpful to check the proper technique with a healthcare professional once when you first start using your device. George, who is 79 years old, started tracking his blood pressure at home on his doctor's recommendation after he retired. At first, he thought it was unnecessary, but a few months in, he noticed that his readings were higher on certain days, and those days lined up with periods of stress. This awareness led George to have a more detailed conversation with his doctor and to reevaluate his overall lifestyle. George says that after this experience, he no longer sees blood pressure monitoring as a chore, but as a way to better understand his own body. Number 5. Choosing lower sodium balanced foods for breakfast. Breakfast can be the meal that sets the metabolic tone for the rest of the day. Foods high in sodium, especially processed meats, packaged cheeses, or boxed cereals, can contribute to water retention in the body and to temporary increases in blood pressure. Choosing options like oatmeal, fresh fruit, eggs, or whole grain bread instead can provide longer-lasting fullness as well as heart-friendly nutrients. Potassium-rich foods such as bananas or spinach are seen as particularly beneficial because they can help support the body's sodium balance. The goal here isn't to create a perfect diet, but to start the day with small, sustainable choices. For example, simply reading the label on a box of cereal and noticing the sodium content can, over time, help you make more mindful choices. Rather than overhauling your entire breakfast, changing just one component, like swapping processed meat for avocado or eggs, is often easier to stick with in the long run. Margaret, who is 73 years old, ate processed breakfast meats and white bread most mornings for years. After a conversation with her doctor during a routine checkup about her sodium intake possibly being high, she switched her breakfast to oatmeal and fruit. Margaret says the change wasn't difficult for her at all, and over time she actually grew to love her new breakfast. She now recommends this kind of breakfast to her grandchildren too, and says that preparing oatmeal together in the kitchen has become an enjoyable morning ritual for her. Number 6. Getting a short amount of morning sunlight. This might be the most unexpected habit on the list, but spending a few minutes in morning sunlight can help regulate the body's internal clock, known as the circadian rhythm. This internal clock doesn't just affect sleep patterns. It can also influence the daily fluctuations in blood pressure and heart rate. Natural light reaching our eyes sends signals to specific regions of the brain, letting the body know it's time to start the day. And this signal can affect everything from hormone release to sleep quality. Simple actions like opening the curtains, stepping out onto a balcony, or sitting outside in the garden for a few minutes can help the body more clearly sense the transition between day and night. Even on a cloudy day, outdoor natural light is still far more intense than indoor artificial light, so this habit can be maintained regardless of the weather. Because irregular sleep-wake cycles have been linked over time to various metabolic changes associated with heart health, this small dose of morning light is a detail that shouldn't be overlooked. Ruth, who is 86 years old, noticed she tended to feel more sluggish and low energy during the winter months. On a friend's suggestion, she started eating breakfast by the window every morning, and when the weather allowed, she'd sit on her porch for a few minutes as well. Ruth says this small change made her feel unexpectedly more alert and energized, and she also mentions that she falls asleep more easily in the evenings now. Number 7. Taking a few minutes for deep breathing or a moment of calm. In the mornings, especially for people starting their day with a packed schedule, stress hormone levels can naturally be a bit higher. A few minutes of deep breathing, breathing slowly and in a controlled way, can help shift the nervous system into a calmer state. This simple practice is thought to have a positive effect on something called heart rate variability, a measure that's been linked to overall heart health. A simple technique, like breathing in through the nose for a count of 4 seconds, holding for a few seconds, and then slowly exhaling through the mouth, requires no equipment and can help calm both the mind and body in the first few minutes of the day. This can be done in a quiet corner or even while sitting on the edge of the bed. What matters is setting aside these few minutes entirely for yourself and letting your mind focus only on your breath. This can help you start the rest of your day with a calmer state of mind. Frank, who is 84 years old, noticed he felt quite tense and unsettled in the mornings after losing his wife. On a nurse's recommendation, he started doing a 5-minute breathing exercise every morning before his coffee. Frank says it isn't a magic fix, but it does help him start his day calmer. Over time, he began using these few minutes to also remember his late wife and create a moment of peace for himself, which gave him a sense of balance both emotionally and physically. Number 8. Taking medications consistently and on time. If you're taking heart or blood pressure medications prescribed by a healthcare professional, taking them at the same time every morning can help keep medication levels steady in your body. Missed or delayed doses can sometimes lead to unexpected fluctuations in blood pressure, because many medications are designed to work most effectively when maintained at a certain level in the body. Simple methods like using a pill box, setting a reminder on your phone, or placing your medication right next to a consistent part of your routine, such as breakfast, can help you stay consistent. Some families support aging parents who live far away by preparing weekly pill boxes or setting up regular phone reminders. For any questions about medication changes or dosages, the safest approach is always to contact the healthcare professional who prescribed it. It's important never to change your dose or stop taking a medication on your own. William, who is 90 years old, used to sometimes forget his heart medications or take them at the wrong time. After his daughter helped him start using a weekly pill box, he was able to avoid this inconsistency. William's family says this small adjustment has given them a great deal of peace of mind. William himself says his mornings are less stressful now, since he no longer has to remember which medication he's supposed to take on which day. Looking at these 8 habits, there's actually a common theme we can notice. None of them are complicated, expensive, or time-consuming. Some research suggests that regular, consistent morning routines may be linked to positive trends in overall cardiovascular health, particularly in people over the age of 60. But none of this information replaces a personal diagnosis or treatment plan. Every individual's health situation is different, and everything shared in this video is meant purely to build general awareness. Before starting any new routine, especially if you have an existing health condition, talking with your doctor is always the right first step. The most notable thing about these habits is that none of them is a miracle cure on its own, but together, they form a consistent morning routine. Robert rising slowly, Helen's glass of water, Dorothy's stretching, George's blood pressure tracking, Margaret's breakfast change, Ruth's morning sunlight, Frank's breathing exercise, and William's medication routine. Each of these stories shows how small but determined steps can make a difference over time. To sum it up, getting out of bed slowly, drinking a glass of water, doing some light stretching, tracking your blood pressure, choosing a balanced breakfast, getting some morning sunlight, taking a few minutes for deep breathing, and taking your medications consistently. Together, these small but meaningful steps can offer the heart a gentle start to the day. As we mentioned, the morning hours are considered one of the most delicate transition periods for the heart during the day. And that's why the care given to these hours can make a difference in the long run. One of the biggest takeaways from this video is that the natural morning rise in blood pressure tends to become more noticeable as we get older. That's because our blood vessels gradually lose some of their flexibility over time. It's a simple but important reminder that a healthy morning routine isn't just another habit. It's one of the easiest ways to give your heart a little extra support every day. Of course, none of these 8 habits is a magic fix. Real change doesn't come from one perfect choice. It comes from small, consistent actions that work together over time. When these habits become part of your daily routine, they can help create a steadier, more heart-friendly start to each day. As we saw through the stories of Robert, Helen, Dorothy, George, Margaret, Ruth, Frank, and William, lasting change rarely happens overnight. More often, it starts with one small decision that's easy enough to stick with. If you're not doing any of these habits yet, don't feel like you have to change everything tomorrow morning. In fact, you're much more likely to succeed if you begin with just one. Maybe that means taking a few extra seconds before getting out of bed instead of jumping up as soon as the alarm goes off. Or maybe it's as simple as drinking a glass of water before you head to the kitchen. Small actions may not seem like much in the moment, but repeated day after day, they can grow into lasting routines, and those routines can shape a healthier lifestyle. Now we'd love to hear from you. What's your morning routine like? Which of these habits are already part of your day, and which one are you planning to try first? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your story might be exactly the encouragement someone else needs. If you found this video helpful, consider sharing it with a friend or family member who could benefit from it too. And if you'd like more practical, research-based tips to support healthy aging and overall wellness, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss our upcoming videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.